Alright everybody, welcome back. So, the Sons of Attila dev server is live. I figured we go ahead and take a look at mostly just the air stuff coming next patch. I'll touch a little bit on the ground later on. But the biggest thing, of course, is going to be, at least for me, the MiG-29SMT. This plane is quite something. It is a mid-2000s upgrade MiG-29, and as of right now, it is most likely going to be the most meta jet next patch. Both of our major air additions have been more multi-role focused additions this patch, and specifically the MiG-29SMT gains the addition of some TD-guided weapons. It gets the KH-29TD, which is an improved version of the KH-29T that you've already seen on stuff like, the Su-17s or the MiG-27s. It also gets the KAB-500s, an upgraded version of those as well with more range. So when it comes to CAS, this thing is going to be a small upgrade, although personally, I would still say that the MiG-27 is probably a better option with its 4 KH-25 MLs. Now, one of the really big upgrades you're going to get is the R-27ET. This missile has been hyped up for a very long time. I will say its reputation is going to be kind of overblown in game, at least as of right now. So it is definitely a very good missile, don't get me wrong. It has a little bit more burn time than the R-27ER, but of course it has an IR seeker head instead. Now, the one that we got in the game, because there are different seeker heads on it, has the R-27T seeker head. So this thing is not going to be the unflareable monster that some people are worried about, but it is still incredibly capable. It's still very quick, and as you can see, it has excellent maneuverability, and it will ignore flares from your aspect, just like you saw right there, right before I got beamed. So this is definitely a very strong addition. Personally, I would still rather run the ER. I think the ER is much more capable, especially because one of the really big upgrades with the MiG-29SMT is the better radar. This thing has the Yak-141 radar as of now. I've heard a lot of differing stuff on what the radar should be, but I would say expect it to at least be as good as the Yak-141's radar on launch, maybe even better. In exchange for all of this, you are losing out on the flight performance a little bit. Now, I don't think the flight model is 100% correct as of now, but it will definitely be a little bit worse than the 913 or the 912 on release. That much is for certain. It has the same engines, or at least the same thrust on them. They're supposed to be slightly different from my understanding, but I don't believe it's actually impacted flight performance. And it gains that spine on the back along with some extra stuff for the multi-role capability. So it's definitely going to be heavier. I do think it's a little bit too heavy right now, and so that might get adjusted some, but I'm not 100% sure, and I have no source to back that up. So your biggest thing is going to be your R-73s. These missiles are absolutely insane. They have some crazy high off-bore side capability, and the big thing is the flare resistance. So for those of y'all who saw my video about how War Thunder is not ready for the R-73, one of the big things we talked about was gate width, right? So gate width is the missile shrinking its seeker head after you launch it. So in this case, on a live server, the field of view shrinks to 1.5 degrees, which still makes it pretty flare resistant, but not unflareable. For comparison, by the way, the AIM-9L has a 3.6 degree field of view, which is why it's much more easy to flare most of the time. For some reason, Gaijin changed the field of view to 0.75, so even side aspect now, if you're within about a kilometer or so, you pretty much cannot flare the R-73. It's technically possible, but is incredibly difficult, and you can see these shots, like, I'm running flares reinforced, I'm cutting my afterburner, sometimes I'm cutting my throttle as well, and it's just completely ignoring it, and it's because it cannot see the flares. It is too close, and the seeker head field of view is too small for it to see the flares. So if this missile comes like this next patch, and by the way, you saw that right, it is ignoring my flares in the head-on, it is going to be incredibly busted. Because like even in this stall shot, like, I wasn't expecting it, which is why I didn't flare right then, but that's going to be the really big thing. Just like this right here. You're not going to expect the missile to pull around for you just like that when the guy starts out like half a kilometer away from you facing in almost the opposite direction. The Americans get the F-16 Block 50, and to be honest with you, this isn't nearly as much of an upgrade as the MiG-29SMT right now. I'm pretty sure the radar is still work in progress right now, but the RWR seems to be almost finished for the F-16, and you can see it is very impressive. It tells exactly what you're looking at, F4, F5, MiG-21, whatever else it is, and that way you can get a head start knowing ahead of time what exactly you're looking at, and I think that is a huge deal. It's also going to be really important for CAS. It does also get HMD, which, by the way, means that this is a 2006 F-16, but it gets the exact same kit when it comes to air-to-air ordnance. You're going to get AIM-9Ls and AIM-7Ms, so same exact thing you get with the F-16ADF. Flight performance-wise, it feels very similar to the F-16ADF, with a bit more power. It does have a better thrust-to-weight ratio. It's also a little bit heavier, which means that it's going to be a little bit worse in those low-speed dogfights, but overall, though, it's going to feel superior. One other cool thing, it does actually tell you when you're out of flares and countermeasures now as part of the new cockpit noises. The F-16As actually have extra fuel now. They went from 29 to 41 minutes of fuel, which is pretty cool. And they also had some flight model changes as well. So this is on max fuel, 35 minutes, and I am still hitting 11 Gs right now in my F-16AJ. Once you get it down to low fuel, like I'm at 8 minutes of fuel, I'm hitting 15 Gs in a turn. You were not doing this on live server. It's actually absurd. So the big upgrade when it comes to your F-16C, though, is going to be your CAS, and I figured I'd save that for later on. So you're able to carry 6 MAVs, and these are DMAVs, by the way, along with a Lightning II pod. You're also able to carry 2 GBUs as well, or 4 if you want to go with the smaller ones. So you can carry up to 10 guided munitions if you want to bring 6 MAVs and 4 of the GBUs as well. I would recommend the bigger ones, though, personally. They seem to track better at longer ranges. It is just me, though. You also get 4 sidewinders as well along with that, so it's going to be perfect for, taking care of both the air and the ground. They did say that it should get some sort of like SAM launch warning as well, although not the same as the CW launch warning they're working on for aircraft. Now, as for the Israelis, they got the F-16D, and I'm going to be honest with you, this thing absolutely sucks. I would not recommend playing it at all unless something changes. So as of right now, it does not get radar missiles, even though the American one does, and the Israelis really need it. And it only gets AIM-9Ls. Now, I expect this to come with Python 3s later on, probably this patch. They did say that they are considering Python 4 in the future. I would not expect that to come anytime soon on this aircraft. So just keep in mind that we are getting like 2000s era aircraft. The Python 4 is an AIM-9X equivalent. We're not going to get that anytime soon. I don't even know why they mentioned it, to be honest with y'all. So this thing does get a very similar loadout to the Americans when it comes to CAS. The only difference is that it doesn't get Mavericks for some reason. But you can still carry 8 GBUs along with Lightning Pod and 4 AIM-9Ls. For some reason, though, the Lightning Pod doesn't zoom as much with the Israelis, even though it's the same exact pod as far as I'm aware. It's the Lightning II on both of them. I wasn't able to check in the X-ray, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on either way, but yeah, I'm just not going to question it. A couple honorable mentions when it comes to ground vehicles. The new Swedish SPG looks very, very good. 7.7 with a laser rangefinder, 155mm gun, Gen 2 thermals, 7.5 second autoloader. Would highly recommend. At least it looks really good to me. I'm not a huge tanker anymore. And I also find the fact that the British are getting a T90 at 10.7 is going to be very baller as well. So, in any case, though, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you're looking forward to in the next patch down in the comments below, and I'll catch y'all next time. So, peace, y'all.